The Anderson family's annual business meeting always felt more like a tribunal than a family gathering. I sat in my crisp nurse's uniform at the back of the mahogany-paneled conference room, fresh from my hospital shift, while my Uncle David held court at the head of the table. "Pharmaceutical distribution is the future," he announced, adjusting his Rolex. "Anderson Medical Supply will control the entire East Coast market within 5 years." My cousins nodded eagerly, Michael with his Harvard MBA, Sarah with her Wharton degree, both groomed since birth to take over the family business. I waited patiently, clutching my carefully prepared business proposal. "Now then," Uncle David smiled indulgently, "I believe our resident nurse wanted to share something? Emma dear, make it quick. Some of us have real business to attend to." I stood, ignoring the smirks from my cousins. At 32, I'd spent the last decade building my expertise in healthcare operations while they chased quarterly profits and corporate bonuses. "Actually," I began, distributing my presentation folders, "I have a proposal for expanding Anderson Medical Supply into direct healthcare provision." "Direct healthcare?" Michael snorted. "You mean like running hospitals? Stick to bandages, Emma. This is a business meeting, not a nursing conference." I continued despite the snickers. "The healthcare landscape is changing. Insurance companies are consolidating. Small hospitals are struggling. There's an opportunity to create an integrated healthcare network that dash." "Emma," Uncle David cut me off, not even opening the folder. "You're a nurse. A good one, I'm sure. But running hospitals? That's a bit above your pay grade, don't you think?" "I have a master's in healthcare administration," I reminded him. "And 5 years of emergency department management experience." "How cute," Sarah cooed. "But we're talking about billion-dollar business decisions here. Maybe you should focus on taking temperatures and leave the real work to those of us with actual business backgrounds." I thought about the shell companies I'd quietly been building over the past 3 years. About the struggling community hospitals I'd been acquiring through carefully structured holding corporations. About the deals I'd made that would reshape healthcare in the region. But they didn't need to know about that. Not yet. The industry is changing. I tried one last time. If Anderson Medical Supply doesn't adapt, That's enough. Uncle David waved his hand dismissively. "We appreciate your enthusiasm, but this is a family business. Real family business, not playing doctor." "I am family," I said quietly. "You know what I mean." He smiled condescendingly. "Business family. Now let's move on to things that actually matter. Michael, tell us about the new distribution center." I gathered my unopened proposals and returned to my seat, remembering my father's last words before he died 10 years ago. "Don't let them underestimate you, Emma. That's when you'll have them." Dad had been Uncle David's younger brother, the soft one who encouraged me to pursue healthcare instead of chasing MBA programs. When he died, Uncle David made it clear that my nursing career made me unsuitable for any real role in Anderson Medical Supply. What they didn't know was that Dad had left me more than just encouragement. His life insurance policy, carefully invested, had seeded my first acquisitions. While they mocked my career choices, I was building something they couldn't imagine. My phone buzzed quietly, a text from my CFO. "Summit Healthcare deal closed. We now own 27% of regional hospital beds." I smiled, thinking of the meeting scheduled for next month when Anderson Medical Supply would discover that their largest hospital clients had new ownership. Ownership that was about to change their distribution contracts. "Emma," Sarah's sharp voice interrupted my thoughts, "since you're here, maybe you can help us understand why hospital purchasing has become so difficult lately. Some of our biggest contracts are under review." "Really?" I widened my eyes innocently. "That must be challenging." "It's just bureaucratic nonsense," Michael declared. "These hospital administrators don't understand real business. Not like us." I thought about the Harvard MBA running my acquisition strategy, the Wharton graduates on my executive team. "I'm sure you'll figure it out." "Of course we will," Uncle David said confidently. "Hospitals can't function without suppliers like us. They'll fall in line." Sarah pulled up a spreadsheet on the conference room screen. "Though these contract cancellations are concerning. Metropolitan Health System, Central Regional, St. Luke's Network, all switching to Summit Healthcare's distribution network." I kept my expression neutral. Summit Healthcare was my primary holding company, the face of my growing empire. But to them it was just another competitor. Summit Healthcare? Uncle David frowned. Never heard of them. They're new, Michael added. Some venture capital group buying up struggling hospitals. Nothing to worry about. If only they knew that the struggling nurse sitting in their conference room owned Summit Healthcare. That every hospital dropping their contracts was now part of my network. Speaking of hospitals, Sarah turned to me with fake concern. How's work, Emma? Still doing those awful night shifts? I thought about my corner office on the top floor of Summit Healthcare's headquarters. About the team of executives waiting for my decisions. About the expansion plans that would soon make Anderson Medical Supply obsolete unless they adapted. Oh, I shrugged. Just taking temperatures and playing doctor. Uncle David checked his Rolex again. Well, this has been lovely, but we have actual business matters to discuss. Emma, I'm sure you need to get back to your patients. I stood gathering my things. Actually, I have a business meeting. They didn't even try to hide their laughter. A meeting about bedpan logistics? Michael suggested, earning more Snickers. Something like that. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Uncle David? You might want to look more closely at those contract cancellations. I hear Summit Healthcare is just getting started. His frown followed me out, but I didn't care. Let them laugh. In exactly 1 month, they'd learn exactly what kind of empire a nurse could build. Stepping into my waiting car. Not that they saw the luxury vehicle I actually drove, I called my CFO. Thomas? Proceed with phase 2. It's time to show Anderson Medical Supply what real healthcare business looks like. Are you sure? He asked. Once we start consolidating distribution networks, they'll have no choice but to sell or go under. I thought about Uncle David's condescending smile, Sarah's fake concern, Michael's mockery. They made their choice years ago, I said. When they decided a nurse couldn't understand real business. Now they'll learn what real business actually looks like. Looking out the window at the city skyline, I could see the Summit Healthcare logo atop our headquarters building. Soon everyone would know that logo, and the nurse who built the company behind it. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people underestimate you right until the moment you prove them catastrophically wrong. 1 month later, I sat in my real office, the entire top floor of Summit Healthcare's headquarters, watching Anderson Medical Supply's stock price plummet on my monitors. The morning news had just announced our latest acquisition, 42 community hospitals across 3 states, all switching to Summit's distribution network. Ms. Anderson? My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your uncle is in the lobby. He's quite insistent about seeing you. I smiled, straightening my designer blazer. No nursing uniform today. Send him up. The elevator doors opened moments later, revealing Uncle David's red face and disheveled appearance. Gone was the usual smugness, replaced by desperate anger. What is the meaning of this? He thrust a newspaper toward me. Summit Healthcare's CEO is demanding a meeting with our board. They're threatening to cancel every contract we have in the region. Not threatening, I corrected calmly. Informing. Please have a seat. He finally took in his surroundings, the expansive office, the city views, the Summit Healthcare logo behind my desk. Understanding dawned slowly on his face. No, he whispered. It's not possible. Actually, it is. I pressed a button on my desk. Thomas, bring in the presentation for Mr. Anderson. My CFO entered with a folder identical to the one they'd ignored a month ago. Of course, CEO Anderson. Uncle David's face went from red to white. Theo Anderson. Summit Healthcare's founder and so, I confirmed. Though you might know us better as the company that's been acquiring all your hospital clients. He grabbed the folder with trembling hands. But, you're a nurse. I'm a healthcare executive who happens to have nursing experience. Something that gives me unique insight into what hospitals actually need. I gestured to the charts on my wall showing Summit's growth. While you were mocking my career choice, I was building the largest integrated healthcare network on the East Coast. The contracts, the acquisitions. He stumbled over the words. Were all part of a strategy one tried to explain to you last month. Remember? When you told me to stick to bandages. The door opened again, admitting Michael and Sarah, both looking as shell-shocked as their father. Emma. Sarah's voice was small. Your assistant said, but this can't be. Can't be what? I asked mildly. Can't be that a nurse built a bigger company than Anderson Medical Supply? That the cousin you mocked actually understands healthcare better than your MBA programs taught you? Michael found his voice. This is some kind of trick. You couldn't possibly dash. Thomas. I interrupted. Show them the numbers. My CFO pulled up our financial projections on the wall screen. Summit Healthcare currently controls 43% of regional hospital beds. Our distribution network serves 127 facilities. Annual revenue exceeds $3 billion, with projected growth of 25% next year. They stared at the figures in silence. But that's not why you're here, I continued. You're here because Summit Healthcare just acquired controlling interest in every major hospital group that uses Anderson Medical Supply. Which means your company has exactly two choices. Choices? Uncle David croaked. Sell to us at current market value, which given this morning's stock drop isn't much. Or watch your contracts disappear one by one until Anderson Medical Supply becomes nothing more than a cautionary tale about underestimating nurses. Sarah sank into a chair. You planned this. All of it. Actually, I tried to partner with you. Remember my proposal? The one about integrated healthcare networks. I pulled out my copy, the same presentation they'd ignored. I offered you a chance to adapt. You chose mockery instead. We can fight this, Michael declared, but his voice lacked conviction. We have lawyers, who will tell you exactly what I'm telling you now. I cut him off. Summit Healthcare's acquisitions are legal. Our contracts are binding, and your company is finished unless you accept our offer. Uncle David stood suddenly. Your father would be proud, I finished. He taught me that real business isn't about corner offices and MBAs. It's about understanding what people need and building something meaningful. The board will never agree to sell to... He gestured helplessly at me. To a nurse. I smiled. They already have. Check your phone. Right on cue, their phones buzzed with the news alert. Anderson Medical Supply's board had approved Summit Healthcare's acquisition offer. How? Sarah whispered. Remember those venture capital firms that bought into Anderson Medical Supply last year? The ones you bragged about at Christmas dinner. I waited for recognition to dawn. They work for me. Michael slumped against the wall. All this time, while we were laughing at your nursing career, I was building an empire. I stood walking to the window. One that understands healthcare from the ground up, not just from a business school classroom. What happens to us? Sarah asked quietly. I turned back to them. That depends. Summit Healthcare promotes based on merit, not family names. If you're willing to really learn about healthcare operations, there might be places for you. Learn from you. Michael scoffed, but the sound was hollow. No, I corrected him. Learn from our frontline staff. Spend 6 months in hospital operations. Understand what healthcare workers actually need. Then maybe you'll be ready for management. Uncle David hadn't moved, staring at the Summit Healthcare logo like it might disappear if he blinked. The nursing shifts, he said finally. You were still working them even after building this. I gestured to my office. Yes, because understanding healthcare means experiencing it at every level. Something you never bothered to learn. And now? Sarah asked. Now you have a choice. Join Summit Healthcare and learn what real healthcare business looks like, or take your golden parachutes and find new careers. I sat back behind my desk. Thomas will show you out. You have until tomorrow to decide. After they left, I walked to my private bathroom and changed into my nursing uniform. I had an ER shift starting in an hour. Not because I needed to work it, but because I never wanted to forget what healthcare was really about. My phone buzzed with messages from the family. Uncle David, I was wrong. About everything. Sarah, can we talk? Really talk? About healthcare. Michael, those hospital operations positions, are they still available? I smiled, remembering every dismissive comment, every mockery of my career choice. The best revenge wasn't in destroying them. It was in teaching them what they'd failed to understand. Looking out over the city, I could see 3 of my hospitals, their emergency departments glowing like beacons in the gathering dusk. Each one represented thousands of healthcare workers finally working in a system that understood their needs. Miss Anderson? Thomas appeared at my door. The board would like to know if you're still planning to expand into medical education? I thought about all the other nurses out there, all the healthcare workers with vision and drive, just waiting for someone to take them seriously. Schedule the meeting, I said. It's time to show the world what happens when you let nurses run healthcare. After all, the best empires aren't built on fancy degrees and family connections. They're built on understanding what really matters, one patient, one nurse, one hospital at a time. And tomorrow in my ER shift, I'd remind myself exactly why I built this empire in the first place.